I've been a prosecutor on the federal prosecutor on the western side of the state and Eastern District, and a state prosecutor in New Orleans, and been the recipient of many forensic interviews of children in a controlled environment by professionals, which is what you're asking the Hope House to do. And it's irreplaceable what they do, and especially the one here.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena Podcast. All right, guys, welcome to the show. This is the In the Arena Podcast. Got my partner John here, and we have today we're going to talk about the Hope House. And me and John are taking part in the fundraising event this year, and I think it's appropriate to let everybody know how Hope House is making an impact on St. Tammany Parish. So, Thomas, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role and Hope House?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We're really stoked to be here. As far as Hope House, we are a nonprofit organization that has been here since 1994. It's called a Children's Advocacy Center. We're totally independent, totally unique to the 22nd Judicial District. However, there's about 1,000 to about 1,100 nationwide. It was a model that was started in the late 80s by a prosecutor in North Alabama to hold offenders accountable. What they were seeing nationwide is these cases were really, really difficult to prosecute. Cases meaning child sexual abuse. So they were very difficult to prosecute. So they created this CAC model, one-stop shop to serve prosecution and law enforcement and DCFS to help kids get justice and recover as well. So at Hope House, we have forensic interviewing. So we're really the primary source of talking with the kids who have been abused. We also have victim advocacy and clinical mental health.
So how long has the Hope House been established in St. Tammany Parish?
1994 was our first year.
Wow.
Yeah, we were I was told, I'm not from here originally, I've been here 7 years, but I was told we were in a Village Walk mall that ended up burning eventually.
Well, if you're looking at me, I was still in speech class at St. Paul's with Judy LaCour.
There you go. But yeah.
Practicing my future skills.
Yeah, you were like 11 years old or something.
No, I wasn't 11. It was, it was a teenager.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I was 6 of that.
There you go. 6 years old. So you remember the mall very, very well. But yeah, we were established in a shopping mall of all places where that was like the only space at that time they could possibly go to. And then a couple of years later, Ron and Nancy Lee built the current Hope House, man. So it's really cool. I used to live in Terabella, and every time I would see their signs, I'd be like, wow, those are the original builders.
That's great. Yeah. So let's talk about leaving a legacy and impacting people in ways that you have no idea. So as the director of the Hope House, like what kind of got you involved in the Hope House and get you inspired to join the team?
Yeah, man. So I was living in Tennessee. I was director of clinical services, so just the mental health components of about 20 Hope Houses, a network in West Tennessee. And the job opened up, and I came down for a meet and greet with the board and just loved it. I went to Nichols, so I was familiar with South Louisiana.
You're not from there down the bayou, are you?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
I'm from born and raised in West Tennessee, but loved. South Louisiana. We're so fortunate to have a culture of just welcoming and family oriented. Like you're here for a week and you get invited to a crawfish boil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
sometimes family Christmas too if you get close enough. Yeah.
For sure. And loved it, man. And just always wanted to come back. So when the job opened up, I was like, that's my goal. I've been here since.
And what better place in Louisiana than St. Tammany Parish? Because my wife's from Thibodaux, so I spent some time down there, and I'm from Alexandria, lived in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, but this is a place to be in Louisiana, in my opinion. And so I love it here. So I think you found the right spot in Louisiana too.
Absolutely.
So from the Hope House standpoint, so let's give people a perspective on how many kids you have helped or impacted. The Hope House has helped and impacted since 1994.
Yeah. So if we had to estimate that right now, the projection would be 8,000 or more forensic interviews alone. So that means over 8,000 criminal investigations have been facilitated as Hope House as being the hub.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's remarkable the rise in cases that we've seen. Collin can attest. Our first year together serving on the board, 287 cases.
Wow. Is that 7 years ago?
Yeah, 2017. That 287 cases, and then last year we had 493 victims walk through the door for the first time.
And what is it? What do y'all? What's the age range to give people that perspective too?
I mean, babies to then you have, but you also have delayed, which age range of victims or just the individuals that are being helped by the Hope House, because it's different, right? You've got child victims that later disclose as adults at times, so you've got a lot of delayed disclosure issues, and so your children being victimized isn't always realized in immediate time and space.
Yeah. So let's talk. So and for anybody who doesn't know, Collin Sims, 22nd Judicial District Attorney, right? So you're prosecuting these people.
I also have my own team at the Men Who Cook team, Tavi, but whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna have our own link in the bio, but would love for you to help promote.
Yeah.
So you've been a DA for how long?
I've only been the DA not even a year.
But you were the interim DA before that.
Yeah, and I've been the chief of the criminal division since 2015,
Gotcha.
and I've been a prosecutor for about 18 years.
And how many? So you've seen a lot of these kids come through and all the victims, and then you've prosecuted these guys and these people who are taking advantage of these children. So how impactful has the Hope House been to you?
I mean, just again, having experienced different child advocacy centers, obviously I'm biased, but I think you guys run the best one that I've been exposed to. I've been a prosecutor on the federal prosecutor on the western side of the state and Eastern District, and a state prosecutor in New Orleans, and been the recipient of many forensic interviews of children in a controlled environment by professionals, which is what you're asking the Hope House to do. And it's irreplaceable what they do, and especially the one here. You're collecting evidence that's used in the future of kids that may not be able to state what happened to them later, that may not be willing to state what happened to them because of internal family influences over years of pressure, forget, whatever it may be. So it's an evidence collection and there are rules of evidence that let us play the interview that's captured a child at a moment in time telling the worst thing that ever happened to them in their life. And so to be able to hit play in a courtroom, I've had jurors tell me, but for that video, we wouldn't have convicted. Wow. Right? Because a kid can come off, depending on when the case comes to trial, several years later. You can then think about how kids mature over time, or don't want to say things or freeze up. And looking at a child tell a story at a moment in time is priceless as far as evidence and being able to replay that and have the jurors relive that through someone who's not here asking, questions in a courtroom like, isn't it true? And all that other nonsense. They're in a relaxed atmosphere that the Hope House provides. They're sitting there and they're communicating in a safe place, a safe environment, no pressure. And so it's invaluable, man. I can't express how important that is.
Yeah.
Because think about, these cases are usually, no one abuses kids in the middle of a concert where there are 15 witnesses, right? So you really, it's the child's word against this adult who may be powerful, who may have credibility, who may have a position of power over this kid. And these guys are making sure that they insulate that child in a safe environment, collect that evidence for us to go to war with later.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
So if somebody was going to come into the Hope House, like what would and I don't know how much you can disclose of this, but like when they come in and somebody has had one of these experiences or claims to have, and you're going to sit there and provide a space for them, what does it look like for the child or the person, I guess, who's maybe over the age of 18, Collin, that has had this happen in the past that may come?
Well, traditionally under. I mean, you guys are. I mean, you've had adults. That's like what, like the 5% that come in there as adults, 10% maybe.
Yeah, probably 4%. Yeah, and typically, so we might serve adults with developmental disabilities that 18, 19, pretty rarely, but that's guided by law enforcement, inquiry. But yeah, it's definitely. It's a unique setting that's child friendly. It's very similar to this. Just imagine more child friendly, and you're utilizing a protocol that's been developed in a research setting. So you're not the forensic interviewer, and I'm a forensic interviewer. I've been trained. Is asking questions that are only admissible within court, and the questions must be open-ended only. So help me understand more about that. Describe to me what that was like. And the forensic interviewer can never introduce any item within the forensic interview. So if the forensic interviewer says something like, I know it must have been scary when your uncle walked in the room and pulled down your pants and sexually abused you, because I saw it on video, and I know that must have been scary. The case is entirely...
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
blown because the forensic interviewer would have introduced that evidence. So everything is guided by the child, the youth, and it's very empirically sound. There's nothing subjective about it. It's a science, a scientific protocol.
And and how many people around are is there somebody always on staff there that if somebody just walks in the door off the street, that somebody's there to be able to conduct the interview?
There would be, however, they're guided by law enforcement. So even myself as the director, I can't schedule a forensic interview. Only law enforcement and or DCFS could schedule the interview because there's an open criminal investigation.
Yeah.
But we served last night. We were there till 7:30, and it's not uncommon for us to be there Saturday night at midnight if we have to. We had a youth. I'm not trying to get too graphic. This is kind of like day to day for us, but we had a teenage girl brought in her bathing suit straight from a pool party where there was an incident a few months ago. At 9:00 at night. So we had to get towels and get other clothing from Target and have that for her. So it just varies.
Gotcha. So if to kind of divert to what we're doing in November, right? It's in November is whenever the event starts, right? So the Hope House has a fundraiser called Men Who Cook, right? And every year, Heroes Who Cook. We've changed it to Heroes Who Cook, and the Heroes Who Cook are men and women from across St. Tammany Parish who raise money, partner with a restaurant to promote the Hope House. And how long has the Men Who Cook event been a part of the process?
This is our 12th year.
Wow.
Yeah, 12 years of doing it. And we rely so much on this event. It accounts for approximately 30% of our budget.
Okay.
And that's one of the things, when people hear this, they probably think, well, this should be a government service. But the Hope House was established to be totally independent, to only work for the children. So I don't work for Collin. I don't work for the sheriff. I don't work for anyone other than the child that's walking through the doors. I'm going to advocate for that child because I'm totally independent as a nonprofit.
Gotcha.
I think that's a huge point though that you're making though also is that so you have to legally have a children's advocacy center, but there's no legal mandate to fully fund it.
Yeah.
And so even though a percentage only comes from this, Thomas is out there hustling grants and getting funding to make up the other chunks that are totally missing. So if he's not going to get grants, if we don't raise money and there aren't generous people coming out there, then you aren't collecting evidence. We don't get justice for bad guys. And the conviction rates are extremely high because of that entire process from start to finish. For every child that complains and registers a formal complaint to law enforcement that they've been abused, and then they are forensically interviewed by the Hope House and brought through this process, that information and evidence is then collected. Then there's an entire room full of professionals that meet and review the cases through this multidisciplinary team process which is a model protocol that is scientifically based, and it's the way to do it. And so you bring that here. You got Children's Hospital, DCFS, District Attorney's Office, Hope House staff, the law enforcement agency that investigated the case, the clinicians that are providing continuing therapy to the child and counseling. Who else am I missing? Is probation in there too?
No. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And so everyone is then looking at every file, whether there's an arrest or not.
Yeah.
Every single case file is sitting in a conference room of every child that's forensically interviewed at the Hope House, and everyone is roundtable discussion. What do we need to do? What are the weaknesses? What does everyone think? And all their various expertise in the room. It's a tremendous process.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds very inclusive to make sure that everything's done the right way. So, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the MDT process, what he's describing, the multidisciplinary team, which is all of those key players involved in the life of this child. Before the CAC model, everybody was working in their little silos, right? And no one communicated, so prosecutorial efficacy rates were incredibly low. So bringing all those people together, and one thing I can promise you as the director is that every single child that walks through our doors is going to have that MDT, we call it bubble wrap. We're wrapping bubble wrap around these kids, and it's a net, and no one's going to fall through the cracks. We're really proud of that because we're going to meet every single child's unique needs. We heard law enforcement there the other day where they're sharing ideas. So you have like Slidell PD and then St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office working together on cases, even though it's not in their jurisdiction, right? So like, if you're a detective saying, hey, have you tried, a one-party consent call? Have you had have you taken the victim's phone and have you texted the perpetrator, and said, hey, I feel like I need to tell someone about what you did to me, and then observe that response just as an example.
Nice.
So it's great collaboration, and that's and the DA's office is a big part of that, for us to be able to hold these guys accountable.
It seems, it is an incredible community of leadership. And you mentioned earlier how the environment is what really helps stem the success and the environment that you create. One of the things that we like to think about, or how when we talk in terms of leadership, is creating and cultivating an environment in which thoughts arise. And this is an example of the best reasons for leadership arising under the worst circumstances. So in terms of all that collective energy, not that collective work, how does it resonate with both of y'all in terms of how you see yourselves as leaders and spearheading this organism of leadership that helps those who need it in extraordinary situations? So any feedback as far, you're one of the beacons of leadership in the community, right? As far as your political office. This is even beyond that. It's above and beyond, right? Just what is assigned to you, I feel like, in that task, and the way that y'all show up and are very clearly impassioned about it. What is that, in terms of your development of leadership and what got y'all to, obviously the goodness of your hearts, but what led y'all in terms of y'all being leaders, or have you even thought about it like that?
I've thought about it in terms of leadership. I thought about it in terms of a model that works, right? When any one discipline or agency or municipality tries to attack a problem, you're stronger by a multidiscipline approach or a multi-group approach. And so I've actually stolen this model and tried to deploy it in other areas. We have changed the culture of how we handle domestic violence cases. And everything I've learned through sitting in the board at the Hope House and participating in the MDT process and prosecuting these cases in the courtroom, then you identify, well, there's a science behind a lot of different types of cases that need to be deployed systematically, and you can't do it alone. And by the nature of what I do, I'm reactive, and I depend on everyone else to do a job a certain way, which means I need to participate in how that evidence is collected because I am going to receive that. And if I sit back and do nothing and say, well, that's their job, I'll do my job when they do their job, well, that's a failure.
Yeah.
And so the same model approach where we've now deployed that to domestic violence cases, and we missed, we've got, 95.6%?
Yeah.
Conviction rate for those that are forensically interviewed, and those cases that are then charged. We've got a 95.6% conviction rate.
When the forensic
because of
interview
this
is used in court.
Yep.
95.6% conviction rate.
Wow.
So that it works,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so when we competently execute that, we know the results. Well, over time, we've shaped the domestic violence approach to mirror this model the best we can. It's a little bit different.
Sure.
But that's gone from, at one point in time, you had a arrested conviction rate of like 48% for domestic violence cases in St. Tammany Parish, meaning that whatever the conviction was, it was either dismissed or refused
Yeah.
52% of the time.
Yeah.
Now we have an 86% arrested conviction rate on changing and using the same things, systematically interview a certain way,
Yeah.
collect the evidence a certain way, and all these other things. Now we're now moving on to overdose cases and the opioid epidemic and building a similar type task force structure to, again, multi-disciplines, the coroner, the homicide groups, the narcotics guys, the DA's office, all operating collectively to go after these guys for murder. So you can extrapolate that to a lot of different things, just like in y'all's world too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't build a building unless the permit department works at the parish government and insurance. And,
Right.
Another
reason it's good to be in St. Tammany. It's more efficient than many other places we run into.
Yeah, I mean, from the DA's office, I mean, you're tasked with protecting and making our environment a safe environment to live and grow and run our businesses in. And so knowing that, you're smart enough or aware enough to take a model that works and then apply it to every area of our community to make sure that we're safe across the board and not just our children are safe, because I mean that's important. Our future is in our children, but also that we are safe to be able to operate and do our lives and run our lives the way that we hope that we're able to in our community. Not every other parish around here has that opportunity, so I think it's a big deal.
Well, and we're one-sided. I mean, for a kid, you got the justice component, but the rehabilitative component is so much more work to do that these guys do too. So when he says a one-stop shop, these guys are restoring these kids to the best they can back to that. To
the extent that you can talk, what is that process into? I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, it's very complex. And just to expound on what Collin was referencing, what's cool for me, because this is a team and a unified approach. DA's office, law enforcement, Hope House, BCFS, but we're being recognized nationally for what's happening in Covington. The Chicago Children's Advocacy Center invited us to their Illinois Children's Advocacy Center of Illinois conference to be the keynote speaker. Didn't invite me or Collin, but invited Hope House, the Hope House model, 2 years ago to talk to over 200 professionals throughout Illinois on what we've done in Covington, Louisiana, and to be able to replicate that through developing best practices in MDT. We're going to Middle Tennessee in November to share with their teams, which they're called Child Protective Investigation Teams there, but to share what we're doing here and why it's so effective. The prosecution efficacy rate that he quoted, that's nearly unheard of. You're going to see that a lot of the times in the 80s, and that would be considered good.
Yeah.
In the 80s. So we're really proud of the work we do with the therapy component. To me, that is what makes it all worthwhile.
Sure.
And being able to help kids feel better and be kids again.
Yeah.
That's the...
And so how long are y'all committed to these kids after they have had something like this happen to them?
As long as it takes, man.
Yeah.
So when you think of PTSD, what do you think of? What's the first...
I mean, military, clearly.
Military.
PTSD.
That's absolutely the most common response when we ask people that aren't in the field. If you're exposed to, and the VA's done a lot of research on this, if you're exposed to combat in Afghanistan or Iraq, say 5-10 years ago, and you're exposed to direct line of fire combat, your developmental chance of acquiring post-traumatic stress disorders about 1/3. about 32%.
Jeez.
If you're a child who has been sexually abused before the age of 12, you're about 68% likely to develop PTSD. So, and PTSD is the experience of an event that threatens one's physical, emotional, mental safety, right? So any experience that I have that threatens my safety and I feel that I could be severely harmed, and then I go on to develop nightmares, depression, anxiety, hyperarousal, hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, dissociation, that is PTSD. So
Drug use.
yeah, for sure.
Drug use is a form of PTSD, substance abuse.
Substance abuse as a
self-medication.
tertiary, really component of PTSD. It's kind of like chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
PTSD would come first.
Coping mechanism.
For sure. Yeah. When, it alters neurology, right? You've heard of dopamine, serotonin, all of those neurochemicals that are designed to keep us balanced. So when those neurochemicals are thrown out of whack by post-traumatic stress disorder and someone lacks dopamine, well, I can go get meth or coke and it's going to take my dopamine back and just, I can feel normal,
So when somebody comes to Hope House and they go through the forensic interviews and then come back, is it a regularly scheduled appointment? Like, do y'all have therapists on staff that are there that they can schedule time with? Like, how does that work?
We have 4 board certified licensed clinicians, licensed by the state, all board certified in trauma therapy. There's 6 in St. Tammany Parish, 4 are at Hope House. And our families are often going to leave with an appointment to come back the next week. We're going to see those kids 6 months, 9 months, a year, even 2 years if we need to. We're not restricted by insurance billing. It's cool for you and John to understand that every dollar that you raise goes in to helping those kids recover and be kids again.
Yeah.
And feel, I tell, and I'll close, stop my sentence with this, but because I could go on and on. I'm so excited, just about therapy. But, think about, you have kids, right, Jared?
3. He has 2.
Okay. What is one of the 8? Tell me about
6,
one.
4, and 2.
All right.
So y'all probably have PTSD.
Acute. Acute.
So step out and you can talk to them for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, man. I got 3 that are 2 7s and 1 5. But what is your 6-year-old a boy or a girl? Little girl.
Lucy.
What is she, probably her biggest worry or her biggest thought processes?
So you want to know Lucy's biggest worry? We went through
Yes.
this last night. I made her sleep upstairs in her actual room, and she watched Zootopia and thinks the Black Panther lives under her bed.
Yeah. There you go. Bingo.
We had to go under the bed to show her that the Black Panther from Zootopia is not there, that she can get in the bed and go to sleep.
Very natural. That's a deduction that she had from an experience, but very normal, right? It very common, very normal to work through cognitively and emotionally.
Yeah,
right?
we got under the bed. No Black Panther. We can get in the bed and go to sleep.
Perfect. Yeah. And daddy's there to soothe her and to co-regulate, right? We know that co-regulation precedes autonomous regulation. So our kids come in, our 6-year-old girls come in, our 7-year-old girls come in, and they've been told by a 45-year-old man, if you ever tell anyone what I'm going to do to you, what I did to you, look at this gun, look at this knife. I'm going to murder. I'm going to kill your parents, and you'll be alone for the rest of your life, right? So there's such synthetic distortion, adulteration of their worries, their childhood. They come in and these kids, their shoulders are up to their ears. We had a pediatrician say it's the most muscular development he's ever seen on a 7-year-old girl in his time as a pediatrician. Why is that? Because she's always flexing because she's stuck in this fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? So our job, and that's why with my own kids, I don't take for granted their natural worries, right? The panther under the bed. But our goal, when that child walks in, when she leaves after 6, 9, 12 months, she's worried about the panther under the bed. She's worried about the boy who called her a meanie on the playground and said he didn't want to play. She's worried about what she's going to get for Christmas. Those sorts of natural, just normal child worries.
Sure. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. And I just think it's impressive that you are able to not only help these kids with the interview and protect them from whoever the person is that put them through that, but also be able to treat them for such a long period of time afterwards. Because I can imagine, you said 250. How many kids came in last year for
400?
400. I mean, do you have to have had a come to Hope House for the interview to get the therapy, or can you just come into Hope House for the therapy?
No, you don't. The only requirement for therapy is that there was some sort of victimization. So we have a lot of kids. Okay, if you lived in Baton Rouge and you did your CAC at the Baton Rouge CAC, your family moves to St. Tammany, and you show up and say, "Hey, I have PTSD. My child has PTSD. We're gonna take care of you, man."
That's awesome.
And that's the way it is. That's why it was 493 cases. We did 460 forensic interviews. So there were 33 cases where they were in New Orleans and they might have moved here. Those sorts of things.
Very good. Okay, that's good. Well, let's shift back to the event, because I think everybody needs to know more about the event, because y'all are raising money, and you said that 30%, I think maybe Thomas said 30% of the budget is covered by this event. So maybe if we from this podcast can raise more money, we can cover 50% of the budget with the event. So you said last year that y'all raised how much money?
About 340 to 350,000.
Gotcha. What's the goal this year?
It would be, man, anything over 300 is phenomenal.
1 million.
$1 million bucks. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Think big. Yeah.
That would be great. And so the money is raised in several ways, right? So each one of the teams, me and John are a team, Collin has a team. Who you partnered with? What restaurant?
Tabby Restaurant located in Covington, downtown Covington.
Yeah, nice. So we're partnering with Maribo, and I guess Jay Bird and Maribo probably go hand in hand. And so we're tasked with going out into the community and asking people and advocating for Hope House and asking people to donate money to our team for Men Who Cook, and that money is going to be given to the Hope House to help with the budget for the 2025 calendar year, right? And so if somebody wants to donate to us directly, they can go to the link. They can go to Collin's link, and Collin will, I'm sure he'll be happy to share his link with everybody else. There's not any type of competition in this event either.
No.
No way. Yeah, my goal is just to do more than John Gutierrez. If I can do that, I'd be happy.
I don't think he's in it this year.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
You win.
Yeah.
Goal check.
If people want to come to the event, I went last year for the first time. It's pretty incredible the way they transform the courthouse parking lot and make it into I don't think I've ever been to an event that impressive, really, in St. Tammany Parish. I mean, there's some pretty impressive events, but I think that one definitely took the cake, at least for me last year. The way that they organized everything, and all the booths and all the food and all the live silent auction items and all the music they have, I think it's pretty incredible. And so, if people want to go, when is the event scheduled?
Sunday, November 3rd, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the top level of the Justice Center parking garage.
Yeah, and the money from the event is all provided at Hope House.
All of it it goes directly to Hope House and the survivors of crime.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to participate outside of running a team like we're doing, how else can they participate in the event?
You know, Mark Johnson in his leadership classes always says this classic line: buy a ticket. You know, buy a ticket, donate a silent auction item. Take our training. Even if you don't have money, if you want to become money to donate, if you want to become connected with our mission, we have a free training the first Tuesday of every month from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
Called Stewards of Children, which is child abuse prevention training. Just come by Hope House, take a tour, learn more about ways to connect.
On that note, outside of the scope of this event and the fundraising efforts here and contributing through that event, volunteers and stuff like that throughout the course of the year, what does that look like for Hope House?
Yeah, we have tremendous volunteer needs, mostly off-site because we have to be real careful about who we allow, on-site. But St. Paul's Crawfish Boil is every April. We've been a part of that now for...
as long as I can remember.
Okay. Yeah, over 10 years. And we always need a great volunteer group for that. They can sign up online to volunteer with us. We need volunteers for events. This weekend, we have a 5K.
Nice.
Okay. What are the details on that?
Pelican Energy 5K, Fontainebleau State Park. So we all have benefiting Hope House, of course, but we have events throughout the year that we always need volunteers to work at, and people that volunteer their time truly are giving back to making this mission possible.
And how do people, like, if somebody wants to, is it what you said, go to the website? That's
Yeah.
going to the Hope House website too?
Yeah, cachhopehouse.org and click volunteer, and you can enter your email address, and then every event that we have that we need volunteers, you can come and work. We have some like after Ida, we had to get a good volunteer group to help us clean up, you know. So we have every now and then things like that on site, but most of it is events.
And for the Men Who Cook event, can you get access to that through the Hope House website as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You go to cachhopehouse.org, click events, and then it'll have Heroes Who Cook.
Heroes Who Cook. I keep saying Men Who Cook. Heroes. I got to get better about that.
Yeah, we got some great women leaders that are participating.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're probably going to be way better at raising money than we will.
Yeah, and more organized.
Yeah. If I had to bet, that's probably the case. So, and then you have a Facebook page or social media accounts for people to follow too. They have a lot of access to that kind of stuff.
For sure. Children's Advocacy Center Hope House on Facebook is our probably our signature social media. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good, man. Well, we're going to hopefully have this air sometime before the event in November so that people can see and know more about what we're doing to raise money. And we're going to use this to raise more money than Collin. But if somebody wants to do a silent auction donation at the least, they can reach out to the Hope House to do that. I mean, that's a low bar to hit. That'd be great. And if somebody just wants to donate money or go with ticket prices or what?
It's $90
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
each. Yeah.
But you can go online and donate any amount of money.
Yeah.
Just directly.
Directly. And so that's like, it could be a small amount. Like all of it adds up. I mean, I think it's important.
And because you were explaining how the event and how good of a, time that is. What is some specifics? Is it food and bands or what are we?
Food's unbelievable. Like the music's great.
Music.
The weather is usually awesome. Like some of these events, you're usually sweating. I mean, there's a nice breeze up there. It's covered. Cocktails were good. Tito's was up there last year.
So good.
Food's great.
Awesome. Awesome.
You get to try 16 incredible restaurants from Gallagher's. Yeah. I think he's doing like a soft shell crab with béarnaise sauce on top of a filet. So, it's
that's
not
worth the
like,
price of admission.
hey, come try our gumbo and chili, cook off. It's really exquisite food. Tavi always goes above.
I think this year, no problem. I think they're going to do the fried chicken hummus there. Is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's what y'all are going against.
Yeah, well, it's beat pizza. Come on.
Yeah.
Both of them have a wood burning oven. What you put on top of the
right.
Yeah, comes out of that oven is just a little different, but both are equally delicious.
Yeah.
Well, cool guys. I appreciate y'all coming talking to us today. I hope that people donate all their disposable money to Hope House to help y'all accomplish what y'all set out to do.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you all so much for having us.